Google's entry-level Pixel 6a is now available for pre-order, and I've been using this sage-colored model for about a week now. If you're wondering if the Pixel 6a is for you, I'm here to tell you all about it. Let's get started with the design. The Pixel 6a follows the new design that we saw last year on the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro set when they dropped. That means we get a raised horizontal camera bar, a two-tone body, and a fingerprint sensor that lives under the display rather than on the back of the phone. Speaking of which, looking at that display, one nice change caters to those who thought that the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro were a little too big. The Pixel 6a comes with a slightly smaller 6.1-inch OLED 1080p display. Now this has a standard 60 Hz refresh rate, which means Google isn't going to be including high refresh rate 120 Hz screens on their mid-range phones anytime soon. Google has been calling this a gOLED display, but they haven't defined exactly what that means or what makes it different from standard OLED displays. Next, looking at the camera, which I know is a big one for Pixel users. There's been a departure on the 6a when compared to previous A series Pixels, and I'll actually have a separate video about this because it's that big a deal in my opinion. So be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that one. But in a nutshell, the Pixel 6a offers less impressive camera specs than the flagship Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. You might think this makes perfect sense. The cheaper phone wouldn't have the same top tier camera as the more expensive devices in the lineup, but that's actually the big change that I mentioned. Previous A series Pixels have always offered the exact same camera hardware as the more expensive non-A series. The 6a includes a 12 megapixel main rear camera with optical image stabilization, which turns out to be the same hardware used by the Pixel 5a rather than the 50 megapixel main camera on the Pixel 6. There's also a 12 megapixel ultrawide and an 8 megapixel selfie camera. I think this hints at where Google is taking the Pixel lineup, and again, I'll have more on this in another video, but Google doesn't want the Pixel to just be known as the phone with the really good camera. It wants the Pixel to be the phone that does really cool and helpful stuff for you. One other thing the Pixel 6a loses when compared to the previous A series Pixels, the headphone jack has also been yeeted out of existence. Next, when it comes to battery, I always say that battery life is much more important than battery size. And in this case, even though the Pixel 6a comes with a smaller 4,400 milliamp hour battery when compared to the Pixel 5a's 4,680 milliamp hours, you're still getting all day battery life here. In my use, I can go from morning to night on a Pixel 6a without ever feeling that desperation of needing to find a charger. Google also says you'll get a full 3 days of use in extreme battery saver mode, which is a full day longer than it claimed for the 5a. That's likely due to the more efficient hardware and software integration now that Google's in control of both variables with the Tensor chip. The Pixel 6a does also support 5G, but it is a little strange. The $449 unlocked version of the 6a supports sub 6 gigahertz 5G, but not millimeter wave. However, if you get the version that's sold by Verizon Wireless, that one does support millimeter wave in addition to sub 6 gigahertz, but it costs $50 more at $499. A single storage configuration is available, giving you 128 gigabytes with 6 gigs of RAM, and you can get it in 3 colors, this sage one, as well as chalk and charcoal. Do you plan on picking up the Pixel 6a? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll meet you there for further discussion. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I appreciate your support. I'm Andru, and I'll catch you in the next video.